So what about the United States debt? These days, the debt's projected to surpass the levels this country saw back in World War II. That's the difference between the debt and deficit. The question is, what is the difference? How might that affect all of us? Dr. George Barrow is a fellow in public finance at the Baker Institute for Public Policy at Rice University. He says the U.S. debt won't be a problem. Good morning, Dr. Barrow. I've heard that $27 trillion is expected debt. That seems like a number that's really just unimaginable. But you say that's not going to be a problem. Why so?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It really takes a matter of perspective and to think about something like that much debt. And it seems a little bit counterintuitive because for so long we've been told that rising debt is a huge problem. And, you know, I'm not here to convince you that it won't be a problem at some point, but in the near future, rising debt isn't expected to be a problem. So there are a few reasons for that. Well, we look for things like sluggish economic growth or rising interest rates to determine if debt is problematic. But the reality is that we actually see the exact opposite. We've seen declining interest rates in the United States for the last 40 years or so. And when interest rates are declining, that means that the government can actually incur more debt without incurring the corresponding interest payments. Mm-hmm. So as we see it now, debt is not problematic in the near future, and it probably won't be until it reaches probably at least 150% of GDP.
So many politicians who favored the tax cut a couple of years ago now say stimulus and relief numbers may be too high. What do you tell politicians who may ask you about this sort of thing? What do you tell them about the challenges of not going too high? Maybe is there a reality of any balanced budget down the road anywhere?
It's going to have to be our reality whether we like it or not. We're going to have to make some tough decisions down the road. We're going to have to stabilize certain programs like Social Security. But in the near term, it's not my sense that growing debt will be a problem. With regards to the stimulus package that Congress is evaluating, my sense is that it does some good things. It has some targeted relief. As I see it, the economy itself doesn't necessarily require stimulus. The unemployment rate is elevated, but not at a point at which I would see the need for significant stimulus. That isn't to say that there aren't a lot of people out there in very difficult financial situations, but I think now is the right time to use government debt to help some individuals that are in need.
So working your way out of the pandemic, what's your advice to political leaders about the way going forward in order to have a solid financial foundation? Because we have to get out of this at some point. What are the steps that need to be taken?
Yeah, well, you know, it's a process of monitoring where we are right now with the pandemic and how much longer it's going to last. We have to look at that simultaneously with the state of the economy. If the state of the economy appears to be improving very rapidly, then there will be a decline need for additional stimulus. But if it's the case that we end up dealing with the pandemic for many years, if it is something that extends into 2021 and possibly even 2022, we may need continued economic relief down the road. But if it's the case that we're about to turn a corner, if the vaccine is very effective at dealing with the pandemic, if we're just a few months away, then it could be the case that this stimulus package is just what we need to make it through the end of the pandemic.
30 seconds, I know it's kind of not a lot to ask, but we see the stock market doing its thing. Stock market is not necessarily indicating how well we're doing overall, is it?
That's right. The stock market is not the economy, like I like to tell a lot of people. It is a reflection of what we expect about the economy going forward. So it could be that the stock market kind of leads the economy. And to a large extent, it has been the case that the stock market was somewhat accurate in predicting the brevity of this recession. So even though the stock market might be doing well, the economy might still be in recovery mode.
Dr. Barrow, thank you so much. I feel much more informed now than I did yesterday. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.